I am really bad at drawing from reference. It's not fun, so I don't do it. As a result, I am severely out of practice. My speed paints are kind of embarrassing because the sketching phase is really just me fumbling about. I swear to you, I spent an entire afternoon on this sketch. The situation is that dire. With my last video, I put out this worksheet and 2 of the pages correlated to this point. Maybe it was a kind of random, off-topic thing to include, but I think it's really necessary advice and one I've been dishing out but not following. You need to simplify your reference. Obviously, this isn't a hack to make drawing from reference instantly click for you. Observation is a skill, and in my opinion, it's the most important or just helpful skill an artist can have. If you know how to observe, you can draw literally anything, and that's why drawing from reference is so important. Not only are you building an internal library of how the world looks, you're also honing this incredibly important skill. It's 2 benefits in one. If you just do a quick 10-15 minutes or so exercise every day, you're on a really good what's that? Drawing exercises are boring? Yeah, they really are, aren't they? I would say it's the reading textbooks of art, but there are ways to make it less boring. Making it into fan art is maybe the most efficient way, but another one I've done is this. Draw a bunch of quick poses from reference and save them to your reference folder. Now whenever you have an idea for a piece, or you want to draw but you don't want to draw a pose, or you just want to sketch your fave in a cute outfit and you don't have to figure out all the anatomy, pull this out and reuse it. It's a certified lazy artist hack. So I'm not some great artist sharing my great wisdom, I'm learning this too. Everyone gives out this advice and yeah, it works, so I'm putting it to the test. I may fail miserably. Okay, so when we're breaking down our references, I mean like we're breaking it down into shapes. For example, if we're breaking down the shadows of this image, you can see here we've got this shape here, and then there's a little triangle of light here. And then we've got this big shape here. We've got a cheek shape. And then as it comes in, you'll notice there's the eyelid, so there's another shape there. It's just looking for shapes. When you're drawing, the thought isn't to look at your reference image and go, okay, I need to shade a forehead. I need to know what a forehead looks like. I need to shade a forehead. Look for the shapes. That's much more simple than I need to study what a skull looks like. I need to know how the fat sits on the head. I need to know where the muscles sit. No, you just need to memorize a bunch of shapes. Okay, you don't just need to do that. Memorizing the anatomy is helpful, but if you're copying straight from a reference, which I advise doing in the beginning, it's just shapes. And then you build up a library of what these shapes are, and sometimes you have an understanding of what they are, like, you know, this is obviously a cheekbone. And this here is the under eyelid. So it helps to know what they are, because when you stop using references as much, which I think you'll always use references, but if you want to draw something from imagination, or if you want to draw this exact image, the light's coming from this way, and maybe there's like a big light up here. Once you know these shapes, when you know the anatomy, you've got the idea of what the shape needs to look like, but you can have the shadow like over here, for example, because you know the form of what this looks like. Does that make sense? Memorizing shapes is important, and then when you get more advanced, you can memorize the important anatomy stuff. Or you don't have to at all. You remember that's the shape of the forehead, so if you want to draw forehead that's facing the light in a different way, you just draw that same shape over here. So we're going to try a simple anatomy reference. This is something I see a lot of painters do. They get their reference image at the exact size they're drawing at, so you can kind of compare it. And when we're simplifying a whole pose, we're not simplifying the shadows or anything, we're not working on that, we'll do that later. When you're just getting a simple base pose, there's nothing more simple than just silhouette. I saw someone recently talk about how a really easy way to sketch out your anatomy is by starting with the silhouette instead of the usual, like, you know, the skeleton pose. And I think I need to start trying that because I think it seems really effective. So let's try and get this pose down in 1 stroke or 2, just as simple as we can, just the silhouette. Okay, so that's really, really simple. I think it already looks, I mean, it's a person. I think if we just erase some bits here and there. I think another important thing when you're going based off references is taking note of all the negative space. Like the triangle here. Maybe this triangle is a little wider at the bottom than mine, so I could possibly widen mine out a little too. And I think that wrist is too low. Another thing is just lining stuff up, comparing it to the other stuff. So this wrist is sort of in line with the collarbones, which would be about here, so that would go a little higher. But I mean, that's a start, right? You could just draw some flows on it and that can be your pose. You can also, do your construction lines. If you're doing construction lines, still try to keep them simple. The simple shapes. It's just tubes. Our legs are just big tubes. Something I used to do is I didn't do it for very long because I didn't know if there was much of a point, it just looked good. But I'd draw like where the front of it is. Like this kind of curves in and sort of follow where it is. I don't know if that's like a good practice and I don't know. Another thing I also used to do is I'd only draw my first sketch using straight lines. Couldn't use anything else. I don't know if that's a good practice either. I think it's fine. It's definitely simplified. It's more simple than a line. Okay, we've done that more simple silhouette. Let's do something a little more complicated. Or, I don't know, not more complicated, just let's look at some shadows instead of full bodies. So I think studying paintings or art from other people is a good way to study, as well as real life, or I guess it depends on what you want your style to be, but you don't need to simplify as much when someone else has already simplified it for you. They've already figured out how it works. They've already figured out what looks good. Let's try our little silhouette method again. This is just the head, but... And then the nose is sort of darker, so... We'll do just dots for the eyes, but we'll bring some lightness back in. You can see here, above her eye, it's a shape. That's a shape, lads. There's a bit of a one up here too. It's a bit darker here. And then our next shape, another sort of jawline. Not sort of, that's definitely what it is. And it comes down to the lips. And it goes under the chin. And see, this is why it helps to know anatomy, because if you know that part there, that's the chin, it sort of sticks out a bit. It's sort of a muscle bit. This is the great explanations you're getting. This is the quality guarantee. And then for the lips, it's just a little line. Top lip's a bit darker, so maybe we'll colour that in. Maybe at this point I'll go full opacity and just start properly. See, this is why I'm bad at simplifying, because I'm already going in and trying to figure out what more I can do. These are sort of the simple shapes of the big shadows I can see at this one here, around the eyes. and then just one on the side of the nose, so we'll get that. Look how quickly we got that down. And it's not just big shapes, you can also keep in mind the little shapes. Like I can see a tiny line on her nose, and then a bit of colour on her lips. Something I think makes a lot of interest in a piece is if the highlights in the eyes are different. Like I know I used to just do a dot, duplicate it, move it, that's our eye shines. But I think it's more interesting if you do different shapes, sort of, in each eye. Like this one, it's obviously less light, so this one's bigger. And then I can see another shape here. This is a little top of the cheek. And then there's a little bit of I can see a sort of a triangle there. It's not as bright though. Sort of like that. And then there's a bit of a darker bit in there. You see the vision. You see the vision. And look how quick I got that down. It's all just simplifying. We've got some good shapes on this one too. Like you can see here, there's a reflection in the, not a reflection, but like bounce light hitting the bottom of her chin. I think that's really interesting. First thing I noticed is sort of like a highlight up there. And then there's a big bit. You should be adding like main features like the eyes, you know, the main stuff people usually have. This is just a really simple way to get a face down easily, quickly. Eyes, bottom of the nose, top lip, bottom lip. And then this very strong triangle shape. A bit more straight than that. And then it doesn't meet the end of the eye. The end of the eye is sort of here. And then it goes up. And that's where can I make that a bit darker? This is sort of like the eye socket. And then that meets up there. They connect quite nicely. And we'll do our shadow, but there's some reflection, so this one's a bit less of a shape. It's more like a gradient, but everything's a shape if you're brave enough. And then the nose. I've noticed the nose is quite soft. Well, not that soft, but quite soft most places. There's a mower. And then I can just see this triangle here. It's sort of sharp at this end, like an actual triangle. And that's obviously where the front of her brow is. And then here, there's a bit of light. So this is obviously her brow bone. It's not the eyelid, it's the brow bone. Then, so this is eyelid. I'll give it a bit of a line just to separate it. Then here we've sort of got similar. I don't really see any shapes besides the light where her brow bone is. and then it's sort of like just a line to the rest of the noses. And then of course there's all these shapes in the nose, but that's complicated. Wrong, we're simplifying it. But this shape, it sort of looks like a circle. Sort of like the circles hell the person mowing's going to go to. And then we'll just give her a bit of a nostril. As a treat. You may breathe once. And then there's sort of a triangle here. I would say that goes into a little dip between the sort of, I don't know what it's called, sort of dip between the, above the lips. So that's what the shadow is casting on. Maybe make it a little softer. And then just a little dark line from the lips. And that's just a simple, it's all shape. Look at this hand. You can't really see it. Don't zoom in. Look how nice that hand is. What's our last one? This one. I think I picked this one because it has a really big shadow. I noticed old paintings don't have, like, they have the shapes, but not all of them do. I think it's sort of like if it's like a painting of someone, they probably want to get their best side without covering them in shadows. But that's the thing, us artists now, we're all unemployed, so we don't need to make people look good. So let's get our simple shape down, and we'll start with that big shadow. So it comes under the eye, and it sort of follows the cheek, like that. And that's our simplistic faces. So what did you learn, lads? Simplify your references. Simplify or suffer. You're overworking yourself. You need to treat yourself. Go draw something before I go tackle that guy off his mower.